First of all, I would like to mention that you already did quite some spoiler for my presentation. Some of the questions that have been raised, hopefully I will cover them in my presentation. But of course, I'm also available for further discussion even after this day. So again, I'm Marco Anteghini. I'm a representative of Life Glimmer. And together with Emmanuel, who just presented, and other colleagues from the DSMZ Institute, we are working as a team within the BioIndustry project. And yeah, among other things, we are focusing on developing this decision support system that Emmanuel kindly introduced already. And yeah, and in my presentation, I would like to show you some other perspective about large language models and how we plan to integrate them in our decision support system. So without further ado, I will just start. Emmanuel already made some very nice and well-structured introduction. I would like to just remind you about some other details, and so we can remark a few basic concepts, especially for the students in the audience. In bioindustry, but in biology in general, we are sort of drowning in data nowadays. So a lot of new data are being produced constantly. And the challenge is, as already mentioned, is to integrate these diverse and different sources of data. We mainly have two kind of roughly two kind of data. We have structured data, which have a very specific structure schema, which could be from the genomic databases, trained databases, process data, everything that Emmanuel quickly showed you already. But as also already presented, we have a lot of unstructured data as well, which can be basically scientific literature, but also patents and also notebooks from the wet lab. Just to give you some number, structured data, for example, in GenBank, if we consider trillion bases, we see that last year we reached 3.5 trillions of bases in GenBank, and this number is still rising. Same time, we also have a big amount of increasing unstructured data. This is a quick PubMed search I did, looking for papers mentioning both LLMs and bioindustry, or yeah, bioproduction. And this is in thousands. So we see that this linear increasing, we are seeing that also in unstructured data. So we have almost 150,000 paper mentioning LLMs in bioindustry just last year. So we have this amount of data that is increasing, both structured and unstructured data. LLMs are system trained on vast text data, and they can understand, generate, and reason about human language, as already presented. I will go quickly through this slide because a lot of things have already been discussed in Emmanuel's presentation. But yeah, if I'm too fast or you want to have some more specifics, just let me know. But yeah, very quickly, as already mentioned, they have some core capabilities. so natural language understanding, text generation, and summarization. One thing that is worth mentioning is that they nowadays are used also for code generation, human readable code generation specifically, and also entity and relationship abstraction. But one thing that I would like to point out is that there are many few applications which goes beyond the traditional one. One example, and this is something my research mostly focused on, is the usage of protein embeddings. Emmanuel already explained the concept of the embeddings. I will roughly mention it again during this presentation. For example, here, I would like to just mention this ESM2 model, which has been published by the Meta research group, the people who did Facebook. And they basically trained it over 250 millions of protein sequences, which is UniRef. And they managed to create this vectorial numerical representation, which basically condense information about evolution, structure, and also function. So the analogy here is quite simple. A FASTA sequence is basically a text file. So a bunch of letters that comes one next to the other. A FASTA sequence where each amino acid is basically a word, and the whole FASTA is a sentence, for example. So it's pretty much as a text file. It could be a book, for example. So that's why these language models can be applied to many different areas that are not thought as being the traditional ones. Again, what it does technically, an LLM takes some input text, does this step of tokenization and embeddings, as already explained, where the text is broken into pieces and converted into numerical vector. Then nowadays, everybody talks about transformer layers, which have this self-attention mechanism, which basically, just to give it in a very simple definition, is where the model weights the importance of each different words and in the input to understand the context relationships and all the nuances of it. So there are several layers with this self-attention mechanism. Everything ends up in a probability distribution. Emmanuel mentioned all about the statistics, so you know what to expect in a sentence, what would be the next word. So basically is what these models rely on. So there's always some sort of probability distribution to predict the final output text. So this was a very quick introduction, and with this slide, I hopefully can give you a glimpse of something that has been raised during the question. So smaller LLMs. Currently, one direction is to give quality more importance with respect to quantity. I will just show you some examples. This Palm model, which is the precursor of Gemini. The first one was trained on 540 billions of parameters. The second version was smaller, but with significantly better results. And that was due to the superior training and data curation. Again, an example of maybe some of you are more familiar with the Claude 3.5 models with respect to the GPT-4 models is much smaller. But if you look around, if you look online, many benchmarks that have been taken, we can see comparable results. So Here again, the model is much smaller, but the performances are very similar. Then again, prepared GPT-4o, which is even smaller, but also multimodal and with very similar performances. Now there are new ones, but I just wanted to show you some example of a potential direction, and that could be summarized with this sentence, where modern approaches basically rely on curated data sets over raw web scraping, multimodal training data, so different data, different kinds, advanced filtering using previous model generation, but also more specialized architecture and domain-specific optimization. So to quickly reply to the first question, the scientific community is going smaller some way, but more specific. In bioindustry, we can also take advantage of these models. We can use them, as already presented and mentioned, for data integration, for insight generation, but also, and this thing was not mentioned deeply, we can also democratize data access. And that is what I will talk about, which is related with the decision support system we are developing. So our goal is to empower domain experts to query complex data without needing to code or knowing specific language program to query databases. This is what Emmanuel presented. So we can use text mining to expand our knowledge base. Again, text input goes through a model which generates structured data. And this is what has been presented before. But what we can also use is to embed these language models within a decision support system. And we don't have to think about just one language model, but it can be multiple language models. So just to give you the definition of a decision support system is an information system that supports businesses or organizational decision-making activities. But our decision support system is an NLP-driven engine for biotechnological discovery, strain discovery, and literature search, and so on, where our vision is to convert natural language prompts into optimized query. And this is a specific part of it, but there are many. And the goal is to accelerate the discovery by removing some technical barriers to data access. We started developing this decision support system with some questionnaires. So the stakeholder showed interest in this point listed here. And the one I highlighted are the one we are currently considering within the LLMs framework and the decision support system engine. So they were particularly interested in search function and query systems, and potentially AI or chatbot for strain selection. To give you a bit of context, because we mentioned decision support system, databases, bioindustry, and so on, this is the image that is in our grant proposal, actually, about the bioindustry project. This is specific for the work package 6, the one focusing on these topics. And as you can see, the decision support system is here. So it is connected to the strain discovery tool. It is connected to the database behind it and the API and so on. So we have to somehow find this way to connect all these modules of the whole project. So this is what I will show you in a couple of the prototype we are doing right now is in this part of the decision support system schema. So we want to translate human prompt into Sparkle query, so the knowledge graph, the database behind it, can be investigated. But I invite you to think just a little bit in which other part of the whole schema LLMs can be considered. So of course, they can be here where there is the small parrot, which is what Emmanuel is mostly working on, which is the collection of and improvement of a database based on the literature data. But LLMs can come into can be useful also at the very beginning when an ideal user need to ask question even before writing it in a prompt. So sometimes an user needs some inputs already to write the best prompt, even before translating it into queries. So sometimes people don't even know what they are really looking for. So an LLM could be used there, but it can be also used in the final step when the user get the answer. So there could be a model that applies integration and filtering before, and maybe set a tone with respect to the user that is asking the question, but also it can be used to investigate the knowledge graph and make it bigger, as Emmanuel said already. So there are many points where different models can be used. I will present here an example where the problem is to find a strain with specific properties. This thing requires slow manual searching across multiple databases and cross-referencing with literature. So this is the problem. And the solution would be having a support system that, or at least part of the support system, where a single query in natural language searches integrated databases and provide a candidate list with supporting data in minutes, not hours or even seconds. So I will quickly show you the demo of the tool we prepared. Hopefully it works. You see there are a lot of typo here and there. The code is not perfect yet. This is just a proof of concept. But what I mentioned, what I wanted to show you is that there is some concreteness between this idea we are presenting. So let's say I will pick one of these examples. So give me all strain that were isolated from soil in Germany. So this prototype investigate the backdive database, the one Emmanuel already mentioned. So let's say you're a human user who write this query, and you want to translate it in common language so you can investigate the database. So I can say translate and execute the query, and this is in principle quite fast. Yes, it is. Okay, as you can see, there is an endpoint error, something I didn't fix yet, but what has been done by the model is he prepared the query. There's a limit just to not show you the whole strains, but this is the best query you can write in the backdive database to retrieve this data. So you can basically copy the query as it is. Remember, you started from human text. Then you go into the backdive, and this is not the copied text, sorry. You can go into backdive and yes, execute it. So you see you retrieve all the strains this way. Let me jump back to the presentation. So this was a very simple version and a very simple question as well. You might already think about what question you will write in. And I'm sure it will be much more complex. You just don't want to retrieve strain isolated in Germany, but maybe you want to know which substrate they use, which one they produce, and so on. And many more complex query, but we are going into that direction. If you're interested, I can give you some information later on about what's behind what I already showed. But basically, we adapted a GPT for questioning the database, which knows the structure of the database, basically. Yeah. Finally, beyond the prototype, we want to build our own model. So don't use an already made big model, but the idea is to have our own. And we are considering this because we faced some challenges with these general purpose APIs. First of all, the cost. If you scale this model, this interface, you can expect many API calls, which become expensive. There could be some issues about privacy and control. Many people are not interested and confident in sending proprietary data, which is a concern. But also now there are a lot of ethical bureaucracy involved, so it's not easy to use these models, these general purpose models, especially if you work in a context of public research, especially in European projects. So these things need to be considered. And also, there's a problem with specificity, as has already been mentioned. General models sometimes lack deep domain knowledge. And the direction, as showed you in a few slides before, is to become more specific, maybe go smaller, but more specific. So the final goal is to have fine-tuned, locally hosted models, actually, not one, but more than one for specific part of the decision support system, in order to have maximum performance, security, and domain expertise. How are we going to do that? The strategy is to, first of all, create a high-quality data set, which is not the BackDive or Brenda database, but is this set of prompt and good answer and wrong answer, and this is very hard to define. So this is huge steps we are starting now, but it's something we are looking into. Also because of the balance issue that was mentioned by Emmanuel in his presentation, and redundancy and so on. Then another point is to do a fine-tuning of already available model, which are open source. This is also something we are testing. And in parallel, we would like to train our own model on our created dataset. And what was basically what I showed you in the prototype, which is also something that we think it's worth to integrate, is the retrieval augmented generation approach. where dynamically provides the database schema, the database schema and the context for each query. So every time you ask a query, the schema is also fed in the query, so it avoids the hallucinations. So yeah, this hybrid approach of fine-tuning and rec is what we are currently looking into, also together with database curation. So this combination is robust, scalable, and avoids hallucinations, as already said. And yeah, to conclude, I just wanted to quickly summarize what has been said, not just by me, but also by Manuel. So we see BioIndustry faces a massive data integration challenge. LLMs are a powerful tool to bridge structured and unstructured data, and our decision support system can democratize data access for scientists. So these are the main topic we covered. And the long-term vision of this work package, at least, is to develop a fully integrated modular decision support system that eventually could become an indispensable tool for biotechnological research and development. With that, I'm done. I would like to thank Life Glimmer, the colleague from Life Glimmer, the team at the DSMZ with whom we are collaborating on this specific work package, and of course the BioIndustry 4.0 organization for having me here presenting and for organizing this very nice webinar.